Hello and welcome to another Warno video for SD League Season 5 Division 4. Today with SuperXavi 02 against RegMonkey. You can see SuperXavi banned 2nd Panzergrenadier, 20th Panzerner and 4th Motorschützen, while RegMonkey banned 5E, 6E and the Armored Cavalry Division 11th Cav. You can't see the 11th at the top, but I think from the icon we can both tell that it's the 11th. And in the end, the division and maps they picked were first Isura as a map, and SuperXavi is going to play Territorialkommando Süd, and it will be countered by RegMonkey with a 17-Jahr, one of the new divisions in South Egg. And on the second map Vertigo, he plays another new division, the division Acorazada Brunete of the Spanish, against the 111th Jahr on the side of SuperXavi. The Territorialkommando Süd is specialized in the infantry tab. They have, for example, for the opener, green berets with the special forces trait and the forward deployment, but they only have 6 men. But they also have the aero mobiles that can come in Super Pumas for fast reinforcements with a 21-pan rocket launcher. And they also have a green berets leader that has 12 men, so a lot stronger, and can come in a Chinook helicopter, so they can be sent around the flanks to try and sneaky take a back point, together maybe with some aero mobiles. So some sneaky play can be done with this division. It will be interesting to see if that might be one of the strategies that SuperXavi will try with this division. Artillery, the usual M110 A2 that we've seen in many NATO divisions. The tank tab, just a few light reservist tanks, nothing big. And obviously there are some ATGM vehicles, some with airborne for the forward deployment. So depending on how you want to play it, that might come into play. Weekend tab, we have some heavy Fallschirmjäger special forces with 8 men, satchel charges and 21-pan rocket launcher, also special forces trait. So these are also very strong for the opener and can come in a helicopter. So depending on how you play it, you can have a very strong helicopter opener with a lot of fast deploying units. Anti-air also has a 20mm AA gun with forward deployment. So another unit that can be brought to the opener for a fast attack. But on the helicopter tab, not really that much, just the weak Gazelle helicopters. And on the air tab, we can see LGB-2 planes. So that's something that you can make work with to destroy heavy tanks on the other side. On the other side, we can see RegMonkey with the 70-Jahr, one of the new divisions. The infantry tab is a lot smaller than for the Territorialkommando Süd for SuperXavi, but the individual units have quite the strength with a lot of manpower, and they also can come in some cases with a helicopter, so some fast deployment, but no special forces trait in this case. So the infantry tab definitely not as strong. Artillery, they can pick the Malka, so that's one strong artillery piece they can use. And the tank tab a lot bigger than on the other side, with primarily T-64 tanks. They are not really heavy tank, not incredibly expensive tanks, but still can do a lot of work. And the ISO 152K with a howitzer can also do some indirect fire, so maybe that will come into play. Recons can also come with a helicopter, so some fast forward deploying scouting units here. AA, nothing really special. Helicopter, also not really the best, but at least something. And in the air tab, we can see some expensive planes, but also not the biggest and most impressive air tab. So let's see how they deploy the units and what we can expect on the first map, Isura. On the left side we can see SuperXavi in blue, and on the red side, on the right, RegMonkey. If we look at the deployment, a lot of forward deploying units on the side of SuperXavi. Some green berets, the forward deploying 20mm AA, and the Special Forces Fallschirmjäger with the satchel charges. We look at where they're going. They're quite spread out over this area, and the other group in this area was one of the scouting cars going to the south. So wide open front line for SuperXavi, together with the support of some ATGM and cheap helicopters. So nothing too special here. One CV that is going to hotel in the back line first. And there's a second one behind the Milan for the south. So pretty standard white infantry defensive position, maybe trying to push for Delta or Charlie then, depending on where more enemy forces are. And if we look at the other side, some scouting helicopters together with the infantry units, also focusing in this area. Just one unit going down south. We have one T-64 tank and some infantry units securing this area, and a leader and a T-10 tank going for the center, or well, northern area. It's not exactly the center anymore. It will be interesting to see if the leader will move through this zone or if it will take the route around it. Because that's something that I've seen before, that the CV went right past the zone and was forgotten for a while. But yeah, nothing too special in the deployment. So let's take a look at how they will actually play in the match. Since 17 Jahr is one of the new divisions that come with Southsec, I actually haven't seen much of the division yet and don't know how strong it will be and what the best way to play it is going to be. It will be interesting to see how RegMonkey will play it and what the identity of this division is supposed to be. Or maybe it's just giving it a try with a new division. But while the Gazelle cannon gets dived by the MiG, I'm not sure if trying a new division in the SD League instead of ranked is the right way to play, but maybe RegMonkey thinks it's a strong division and that's why he's giving it a try. The MiG is under fire by the 20mm guns, but doesn't take much damage. One of the scouting helicopters goes down, not much of a loss. It was probably expected to die. CV does get a second waypoint so that it moves through the zone, so no issues there. First skirmishes going on. Sonderwagen 4 makes its way through the forest. BGS under fire now and can't fire back, but the MX scout does get the kill. So that's a nice pick-off for the early game. Special Forces infantry are in the zone of RegMonkey, so that can be an issue if he doesn't get control over his own zone, since the middle of the map is basically between those zones. As we know, the division of SuperXavi has an advantage in the infantry tab, so it will definitely be harder for the reservists to push against the special forces on the other side. A bit of firing support with the MX coming from the south, but the T-64 is at the front line, so if it doesn't get side-shotted, well, it doesn't have vision apparently, so it does take a lot of damage now and can't fire back. And MX getting another shot and not the kill. Meanwhile, F10 getting a lot of damage but is not destroyed. Rocket trying to get the transport. All the infantry skirmishes starting in the center. We currently have a +2 tick for SuperXavi, since this zone that he is contesting is not captured. Fallschirmjäger, they are not outclassed but outnumbered, so they have to fall back or will get destroyed in a moment. That's quite a heavy loss. With such special forces units, you want to try to retrieve them if possible and repair them, since you can still use them later. Well, I guess that's true for all units, technically, but it's a heavier loss with the special forces. Milan almost out of ammo. So far the main push from the red side up here in the north, while SuperXavi in blue tries to push in the center zone. Bomber tries to get rid of the infantry units, kills one of them, while the IFB transport gets a bit of damage done. AA plane tries to dive, but might fly over the Roland 3, which gets a rocket out, but doesn't get a kill. More infantry units as reinforcements from the blue side, while on the red side we can see several reservist units together with a T10 tank. It has 13 armor but a 70 pen gun, so it can destroy some of the bigger tanks. Now we see a leader getting into the zone for SuperXavi. So it got destroyed before getting the zone. It was really close, but the helicopter was able to take it down. So a bit unfortunate here. Green Berets now also under fire. It's one of the downsides against the SAS on the British side that have an anti-air rocket launcher. I don't remember if it was a Stinger, maybe it was a Stinger. So the SAS Special Forces can defend themselves against helicopters, while the Green Berets can't do that, so they need AA support behind them. But now they're getting picked off by the IFBs, together with some infantry units as support, and for the scouting. First one going down. Second one might get the reservist before it dies. AMX still firing from the south. So that works quite well out for SuperXavi, that he has the firing support with a long range from the south. It's actually, how long is it? 2,275 meters. So that's quite significant. Longer than the T-64 with his main gun. And Su-17 going in for the MX actually. So a plane was brought in to solve this problem. And it does manage to get out alive as well. So despite the Roland being there at the front line now, the plane does make it out alive. And RegMonkey seems like he is getting slowly the control over his zone, but he is behind in points now, so that by itself won't be enough. A lot of numbers, however, in this area. The first artillery pieces also on the battlefield. 2 152mm guns. So they will now start to make work on the AA and static defensive positions of SuperXavi. Gazelle cannon not going down to the A plane, but the second one got destroyed. The plane's relatively dangerous in this area, in the back of the opposing player. Maybe the Roland will get a kill, hit, but not a kill. So that was one of the kind of suicide missions against a cheap Gazelle cannon that you don't really want to do, if possible, and rather have ground AA, for example, so that this happens from a safe distance, while the planes going in can take then hits from the ground AA of the opposing player that is likely to be somewhere behind. So cheap helicopters can actually be used to lure out the AA planes to get them damaged or destroyed, and then you can follow up by your own planes when the AA planes of your opponent are destroyed or in repairs. Su-17, now going back in. And it gets 2 rockets out, but no damage done. Misses both shots. Takes a bit of damage, but at least not heavy damage. So it will be back pretty soon. T-64 damage is back, but not in the range of the repair truck. So it's still damaged. And the supply truck is actually moving forward, and a new one is brought in, instead of using this one for the tank. And now the zone is getting contested actually by a Pioneer Führer. So SuperXavi has yet to give up on the zone. Not much going on in this house actually. So that's half of the map completely empty, the other half completely full with units. But so far the advantage is by SuperXavi, who has a more forward position and can take more ground, more zones. HE bomber might get the leader, but it moved pretty quickly, so does make it out alive. And the plane does go down in the meantime. Another AT plane coming in, but couldn't manage to fire any of its missiles. One of the light tanks got destroyed in the north. There's some movement is going on. Let's take a moment while we recognize that there's an artillery piece now from SuperXavi to take out the AA. But what I wanted to do was to check out the view of the two players. SuperXavi sees actually the artillery in the back lines, some helicopters, and does know about the leader, while on the other side RegMonkey sees only those forward moving tanks at the moment, so he has absolutely no vision in the south, or actually anywhere pretty much. But his artillery pieces are firing now and don't really manage to hit since the tanks have been moving forward. But they get hit by the Fagot, so maybe they will be destroyed that way in a moment. Aeromobiles coming in. The strong infantry units and the Super Puma helicopters. But the A-plane diving for the kill. Doesn't get it. And now got hit and might get another shot. No, seems like it will make it out alive. Artillery from the other side, trying to get the BMP leader. Does get the kill, so that's quite a significant kill. There is no other CV directly in the area, so the zone won't get contested anymore for the time being. There is also no leader in the north, so at the moment RegMonkey not having any CVs to capture any zones. Super Puma just diving to see the location of the units as a scout suicide mission. Meanwhile Roland getting under fire by the artillery. The artillery of SuperXavi trying to get the tanks in return. Unimog getting destroyed. One of the empty supply trucks could get sold at some point. And now we see a spam of a lot of cheap Heimat M48 tanks that are moving to all different directions to reinforce the front line. Since SuperXavi has the point lead and still the point tick, he wants to be defensive and just hold the line that he has currently. Artillery now hitting where all the tanks are clumped up together. That does a lot of damage and probably will get one kill at least. Gets 2 kills even with 1 shot. So that was unfortunate. Now the heavy plane coming in. Got the leader? Oh no, wait, it was just the Pioneer. The leader was already dead or has moved away. I think he died. So there's actually no leader around for SuperXavi either. So only CV over here. And No CV coming in at the moment. While on the red side, we see no CV over there as reinforcement, and I don't see a CV over here as well. So currently, no way for RegMonkey to stop the point tick. T-64 is moving forward now. Obviously better tanks than the reservist tanks on the other side. The Pioneer Gustav trying to get a side shot. Might get one. Does a lot of damage. Gets another rocket out, but not a kill. The Motostreki might go down in the process, yes it does. But T-64's wild damage will make it out alive. Another plane coming in, HE bomber, to take out the reservist units. Gets one of them. And the other one will probably not be able to move forward fast enough to really make use of the RPG anti-tank rocket launchers. M110 almost out of ammo. And heavy plane coming in again for another bombing run. Does get the 20mm AA gun, but not the tank. That was slightly out of the range of the bombs, from the looks of it. BTR under fire. Gets stunned. Now we have a blue leader coming in for SuperXavi. Milan under fire by the artillery. So he does have a CV in the back line, so if the zone gets captured, he can contest it. And it also gives the buff for the nearby unit, so that's also nice. One thing you could do if you don't need the leader at the front lines at the moment, you can put it near the AA or artillery, so that those units get the buff of a CV unit. So this CV, for example, could move to the artillery to help it aim faster and more accurately. Artillery from the red side currently not firing. Still no CV to capture the zone that he has firing control over. But one of the T10 MK CV tanks is now moving in and will most likely go to capture the zone. But he is already 800 points behind, 24 minutes to play. So he has enough time, but he needs to get a lot more ground soon if he really wants to get an advantage and turn the tides of this battle. SU gets a tank, but has to leave now. Can't fire the second missile. Pioneers under fire by the artillery. And Roland getting marked with a beacon. So the next artillery shots will probably go into this direction. SuperXavi reinforces with several new Milans and green berets. So he wants to stay on the defensive and just hold his ground and his point lead. He doesn't seem to try and push to take further lead. Oh, counter battery actually getting one of the artillery pieces from the red side. Other one aiming at the Roland. And the M10 and 110 got resupplied, so it can keep firing now. Some more Aero mobiles and Super Pumas coming to the center. I don't really like that the CV is not moving into the zone, because the point tick is still going on, so any second you lose is a second you need later when you're in the point tick. So with almost 1000 points behind, you have a bit of a urgency to do something, in my opinion. And since there are so many units securing the zone, you should at least try to take it and then retreat, maybe. The empty Super Puma is moving forward again. It is a 45 point unit, so relatively expensive scouts for a suicide mission, but he gets a lot of vision this way. Now a lot of units, a lot of infantry units with reservists coming in. So that might become the big push, followed by capturing the zone now. Finally. HE bomber immediately coming in, but it's aiming at the infantry units. Gets one of them. It was one of the big 11-man squads, I think. The KGB infantry units. And the two reservist units in the building getting destroyed by the second plane. But now the pioneer leader tries to get into the zone to capture, to contest it. But we have reservists in position and more units behind it. It will be interesting to see if RegMonkey in red will push for this southern zone, or if he will try to push forward in the center. AA planes making it out alive. The two M110s not shooting at the moment. The 152mm gun on the other side currently reloading. So RegMonkey still hasn't fully captured the zone, thanks to the leader in the corner. He tries to get it out with the plane, but the leader managed to move before. So it stays alive, and RegMonkey still has to push the rest of the zone. He does have enough forces, I believe. So it's just a matter of time, but as I mentioned before, time will become an issue if he takes much longer. Meanwhile, in the north, also a bit of a push going on from RegMonkey, checking out the defenses over there, sending some units in. F10 getting tagged by the OSA and gets downed by the MiG. The leader T10 tank now under fire by the artillery and goes down. So if RegMonkey doesn't have a CV on the way, that might become problematic. So lack of support CVs, background CVs, or however you want to call it, might bite him in the ass in the end if he doesn't have enough time later to get the points. Pioneer Führer now going down, but now RegMonkey could capture the zone. Still one CV in the back for SuperXavi. Now a lot of open ground in the center that RegMonkey could take if he scouts it. He sends some units forward to check the southern zone, so that might be his second zone that he wants to take. CV tank is coming in, together with some reinforcement units for the northern zone. So he wants to take the southern zone with the units he has, while trying to push the north at the same time. Artillery still being annoying, as artillery should be, for the opponent. I wonder if you can see as a spectator if the artillery unit is set to fire by itself, or if the player is controlling it. Because I know one of the Division 4 players told me he's playing with automatic artillery, so that he can focus on different things. But I'm not sure if we as spectators can see that. Another heavy plane coming in. Let's see. It will try to capture this zone by destroying the unit in the building. Or maybe it misfired a bit, that it should be targeting between the buildings to get both. I'm not sure if that would work out better. Like, you can use a T button as a hotkey to manually target a location instead of clicking on the building. So maybe there's a little bit of possibility to improve such an attack even more. But so far RegMonkey playing really solid. Artillery firing at the Milan in the south. I'm not sure if he's... well, he's out of ammo now for his artillery. But he lost one of the AA piece, artillery pieces to the counter battery. Might lose his rocket launcher as well soon if he doesn't move it. Down to 1 hit point. So what I was going to say is that he doesn't have the attack command followed by a move command to constantly change the position of the artillery. So if it's on automatic, that would be understandable. But if you manually fire, you should always follow it up by a movement command so that counter battery can't get your artillery. A lot of infantry fighting now going on in the north and center. Some units going down, Shilka. Currently no point tick, but 1280 points for SuperXavi. So it will be difficult for RegMonkey to come back. But it is possible. He does have a strong force on the battlefield. He hasn't yet captured the southern zone. So despite the planes and push with multiple units, he wasn't able to take it. There isn't much behind, so if he can send some units forward, maybe he will be able to take it eventually. But currently, those infantry units in the center are more of a focus. They're down in the HPs, but on the other side as well, a lot of damaged units. Plane coming in. Oh, that might be a heavy hit. Wow. Gets a lot of damage in, but no unit killed. On the kill feed we can see HE bomber went down and a lot of blue units. One T-64 now going down in the north. Might have been to the Milan. Or the Milan in the north. Shooting from the forest. A lot of bullets and rockets flying back and forth. So in the north I believe the push is finished. That won't be able to gain much more ground. But both sides taking a lot of damage. Which again is in the favor of SuperXavi as the one with the point lead. His artillery currently not aiming at anything. A lot of infantry units and tank as reinforcements. The tanks going to the south, infantry units unloading in the center. But the Heimer tanks now getting to fire at the first targets, but getting a lot of shots back. But the T10 CV tank actually under fire, and that might be an important unit. Because RegMonkey needs the points soon, so if he has to bring in another CV, it might be a problem. And it might also become a problem if he runs out of CVs, if that's maybe one of his last ones. Milan not getting attacked by the Su-17 AT plane, but the big one coming in now. It's aiming at nothing at the moment and gets destroyed. So actually a lot of losses on the red side now. Other plane not able to drop its bomb in time. So despite a lot of units that are mostly reservists, it seems like the front line for SuperXavi is able to hold. He has another leader in the back to recapture or contest any zones that get tagged by RegMonkey. That might get into the zone now over here with this a lot of units getting sent forward without regards for any lives. Just a wave of units, of cheap units. I mean, that's how you play the Razorlist divisions. You throw away units to gain ground and advantages. Artillery getting hit on the T10 leader. So again, it might be one of the last leaders that RegMonkey actually has, since he lost a few already. I haven't really been taking note of how many he lost, but he might be down to his last few leaders, and that might become an issue. He has only 12 minutes left, so he needs to capture multiple zones now if he wants to have a chance to get the point lead, which seems which seems to be less and less likely at this point. Leader on a single health point, pretty far forward, and I can't see it anymore. It disappeared. It's not in the kill feed, but I think that's gone. So it will be interesting to see how many more leaders RegMonkey can bring in. One of his BMP leaders now making his way into zone, and that will take a while now. That's some more time that SuperXavi has won with this attack. Me helicopter firing at the Milan, not able to kill it. Now at the BGS. Oh, now it's almost out of ammo, but can get the kill on the Milan. And then it's destroyed. So got some important kills to secure this area. But there's a blob of enemy tanks. No reinforcements currently coming in behind them. And SuperXavi managed to save his damaged tank for the time being, his leader tank. So that might be important if he needs to recapture or contest the zone later. So despite having quite the superior numbers at a lot of times in the battle, RegMonkey wasn't able to really push forward and find an advantage that way. And that's how SuperXavi managed to get the point take for most of the time and have a very convenient, convincing point lead. It's trying to unload directly in front of the town. It's a bit too far forward. Now it gets hit by the AA, but there could already be infantry units to fire at it while it goes down or it tries to land. The MiG. I'm not sure if the MiG was really necessary. Got destroyed. I mean, it's nice to look at for us, but definitely not for RegMonkey. I almost called Team Super Monkey now, mixing up both names. BMP still not in the zone. 10 minutes left to go with 1,280 points to win. Will be difficult. I think that's a moment where if I was on the red side, I would probably start to lose hope. I wouldn't believe that I can really do it anymore. Malka, the big artillery, also on the battlefield by now. Second one already on the way. I can see some empty supply trucks that could be sold, but I don't doubt that that would make the difference now. And gets a kill and makes it out alive. I'm not actually sure if that was a plane. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure if the plane actually did get the kill. But the Heimer tank firing at the reservists that are most likely not going to be able to run away. But for the time being, they are out of vision. Artillery actually aiming at the location, so they're definitely not going to make it out alive. Heimer tank against the T10M. Reservist tanks fighting against each other. First hit goes to the T10, and the Heimer tank does miss. So the T10 most likely getting the kill. There we go. There is a +2 tick now going on, thanks to Echo getting captured by RegMonkey. So he is at +2. But 23 minutes. Take half of it, a bit more than half of it, so maybe 40 minutes he needs, and 8 minutes he has left. So mass doesn't mess up. And Milan trying to get back into this area, and actually the zone gets contested again by a suicide leader. That is quickly destroyed, but reduces the point tick for a moment, and the T10 actually eating one of the rockets, but only gets stress damage. So I'm pretty sure the +2 is not enough for RegMonkey. So he will probably check where he can get some more points, maybe in the center. I mean, the back zone would be +2, so it would be +4 in total if you neutralize the zone and then capture it, while the zone in the center is +1, so technically the Gove zone in the south would be a better target, so he should send his reinforcement down here and take that. But 2 Green Berets leader actually coming in helicopters, so SuperXavi definitely doesn't want that to happen. His M10 110 is now under fire by the Malka. One of them likely to go down. Yes, goes down. It's a bit late, 7 minutes before the end, to target at the artillery of the opponents. But maybe he can't see any significant targets at the moment, so it's better to shoot at something than not have the artillery fire at all. One of the Heimat tanks gets destroyed by the T-10 after getting hit by the T-64. Milan in the center out of ammo, so that can't help. Pioneer Carl Gustav might get a hit against the tanks, but probably won't be able to do much against this amount of forces. I like that the leader is in the back of the zone, so it can get in to contest the zone. Milan, a bit of an optimistic passing, so maybe it should have deployed it over here and then moved it. But it's always difficult to say what the situation looked like when the unit was called in. But he does manage to get it through, so it worked out in the end. F10 coming in, diving through the AA network of the opponent. While on the other side, one of the heavy bombers now trying to help out with the zone in the south. That is now getting threatened by 2 Green Beret leaders. It's a big squad with 12 men, so they will take a lot of fire before they go down. I'm actually not sure if 2 leaders take a zone faster than 1 leader, because with 2 supply trucks you can repair faster, but can you capture zones faster with 2 leaders? That's something I never thought about. We do see a BMP leader coming in, but 5 minutes left to go, 900 points deficit. That looks like it will be over pretty soon. Roland getting destroyed by artillery. T-64 going down in the north. Empty Milan still. In the center, the other one also empty by now. So it was brought in as reinforcement moments ago and it's already empty now. I like that it has the buff of the leader behind it. But that doesn't help if you don't have ammo. The push is working out quite nicely at the moment. The Milan in the south, north still has several rockets left, so that can actually help out quite a lot. And the leader tank, in theory, could also move forward, as it does now. And if it gets the first shot, likely going to kill the T-10. Which is actually getting the first shot, but despite doing a lot of damage, not able to get the kill. So the center zone might be up for the taking now. With 3.5 minutes left on the clock. I don't believe that's going to make a change, but RegMonkey so far not giving up, still trying to at least play it out. Maybe he wants to get some more experience with a new division against a real opponent. And SuperXavi has proven himself to be quite a strong opponent in this match. Able to take the early point lead and manage to defend his front line very effectively ever since. He was able to retaliate and push back even after he lost some ground. So not just being good at defense, but also at reclaiming territory. Artillery also keeps firing at good locations. I think one of the major differences this game was just the fact that he had more leaders around at the important times and important positions, while the CV for RegMonkey was staying behind or getting killed too soon before they managed to capture the zone. I'm actually not sure at this point if, with 2 minutes left, there would be enough zones with enough points on the board to even take it, even if he could capture all zones now. M10 getting hit by the counter battery and might get destroyed. Not exactly. Almost, but not. T10 under fire. But the PAL Milan in the south, out of ammo now. But supplies are coming in, so SuperXavi still paying attention to all details. Leader tanks both heavily damaged, and the red force is moving forward against a constantly decreasing blue defensive line. But with a lack of time, this was bound to happen, and SuperXavi takes his first victory in the SD League Season 5, Division 4. Kill ratio pretty even, so despite an infantry division against the reservist tank unit division, we have quite similar kill counts. The early 20mm A gun got a bunch of kills. The A3 Milan artillery play very effective. Got an OSA leader, 2 leaders actually, tanks 2 artillery pieces, so that really worked out for SuperXavi. The Milan getting multiple vehicles, 2 shield cars, so that really worked out. Another Milan, so his defensive forces and artillery, so the support units really making good kills, doing a lot for their money. Another artillery piece with 2 leaders, so that's 4 leaders just by artillery, 1 more by the AGB bomber. So that seems like it was a really big part that made the difference. T64 getting a lot of kills. The SU-17 was also very effective. Probably another one over here, also getting a few kills. Artillery, another T65, 64R. One of the leader tanks actually getting 3 kills. So yeah, overall, a very nice match, very defensive and back and forth, and a lot of kills done by artillery and planes. So let's take a look at the division for the second map and check if that will be the same play style for the next. For the second map, Vertigo, SuperXavi has picked the heavy tank division 119. Yeah? They do have a small infantry trap, but the Spetsnaz have special forces trait and forward deployment with the airborne trait, and the normal Spetsnaz 12 man. So together with the Recon Spetsnaz crew that are also special forces and forward deployment and have the GSR radar, that's quite a strong opener. Their general is strong in the early game and in the late game, but their big problem is in the mid game, when they have to try and keep everything of their combined arms alive while they try to build up their big tank mass, which is very expensive. The T60U 310 points, but they have +1 HP, 19 frontal armor, 21 pen gun and 21 pen anti-tank missile with a long range, and the UD variant with 21 armor. So together with some lighter tanks and some ATGM vehicles and even a Rapira anti-tank cannon, they do have quite a strong tank tap. Artillery is a bit lighter, just 122mm artillery piece, but can make some work as well. Helicopters, several, but yeah, it is a good helicopter tab, I would say. While in the air tab, well, it depends on how you build the deck. You can have some more planes. There's an heavy HE bomber, or you could put in the LGB bomber. Seaplane also a question if you want it or not. That depends on what your opponent will play, and in this case, RegMonkey will play the Acorazada Brunete. Their infantry trap is maybe a bit bigger than the 119 Jahr, but while the forces have quite the manpower, they're not really amazing, no special forces, no great ATGM cars, so the infantry tab definitely not the biggest strengths of this division. Artillery a bit better, depending on what you take, maybe another 110. And the tank tab is a lot lighter. It's the fast AMX tanks that we know from other divisions, but even though they have 17 pens on their guns, they definitely won't be able to threaten the T-80s on the other side. And 119 Jahr was a counter pick by SuperXavi, so he probably knew that he will put the Brunette division for a lot of problems with his pick. We can tap quite a few different scouting units, infantry units with 8 men. Some fast but light vehicles as scouting as well. Also some AMX as AA unit variant in the AA tab. Helicopters very light, as often in NATO, not the heavy helicopters that the pack divisions often have. And in the air, depending on how you play the deck, some AT planes or lighter planes. So I would, based on the division, give the advantage to SuperXavi if he can build up his tank blob. So let's take a look at the deployment so that we can see what they try to do in the early game. On the left side, we can see this time in blue RegMonkey with the Acorazada Brunete, while now on the right side in red, SuperXavi. If we look at the deployment, a lot of forward deployment, including some helicopters on the side of RegMonkey, which gets some units in the forest and tries to go through and around and back to the forest. I'm not sure about this movement commands. But he's trying to achieve, if he wants to check for a flank and then go back into position. I'm not sure. I would probably stop somewhere here, but he probably knows what he's doing. 2 infantry scouting units and 1 scouting AMX, trying to use the space to make use of the range of his gun and support the south. I think it's a bit too little for the south. If we check the units behind, there's a CV and a tow that goes to this position. I think that's not enough to hold the south. Like, if your opponents threaten the south with a bit more forces, that's a lot of points that you can lose. And at least in the past, it used to be the area where most of the fighting happened and where the people would try to take the other zones, while in the north sometimes people would send just 1 or 2 scouts. So I'm not sure if the meta changed and I'm not up to date with my playstyle, or if they just have a different read on how to play the map. While in the north, well, it's for the center, he's sending infantry units to take the area. If we check, that's the infantry units, and the MXAA does go to the north actually. So Roland 2 surface-to-air missile over there, maybe checking for the early helicopters, together with some scouts and an MX-30 scouting tank. So the infantry unit is moving to the north, but outside of the zone where the MX tries to support it from the back. So not really an aggressive advance, maybe because of the possible Spetsnaz opener by his opponent. It feels like there's not really that much on the field. Maybe I'm mistaken about how much points these units cost. 55 plus 20 for the transport, but it feels like just one CV. Maybe has an early plane or two coming in. We'll have to see that after the start of the match. On the other side, we can see the Spetsnaz often coming in two groups, so that you have the Spetsnaz OP with the anti-tank 21 pen rocket launcher together with the incendiary rocket launcher of the normal Spetsnaz. So you have always in all locations, in 4 locations, this combination of the two unit types. And they're spreading out, actually separated from each other in some areas, but going into all zones. So that's a pretty strong deployment, together with some BRDM vehicles scouting for the center. Maybe a bit too far in the back if you have your Spetsnaz over here. Maybe your transport to give firing support should be a bit closer in that case. 1 CV and Tunguska for the north. So the Tunguska can work as AA, but also a strong infantry support weapon. So the BMP leader very likely to capture that zone and maybe make his way to the town afterwards. While over here we have a Tunguska. The Tunguska is going to the center. Over here. Can also give support for the town. And the concourse going over here to fire at all vehicles that will show up in this open field. And the last batch of units, including a leader and a TO-55 tank, going through the south to this zone. Maybe a bit too far in the back, not aggressive enough given what we know about the deployment. But maybe if his Spetsnaz can get some vision, he will be more aggressive in the south. So yeah, that's the deployment. Let's head into the battle and see how it actually plays out. Since the map is pretty open, a lot of long-range units like the tanks can make a lot of use of that, unless the fighting will take place within the cities. One of the AA planes actually coming in, so some of the points actually were invested in planes. I think due to the nature of the divisions, if the match will go for long, then RegMonkey with the lighter division, I had to check which one was the one with the lighter division, might actually have a disadvantage. You might want to take some flanking attacks, while the heavier division, the 190er, wants to take it to the late game and get his heavy tanks out into the battle and make use of them and their numbers. So that might be the question, if SuperXavi will be able to delay the game or take advantage in the early game first and then get through the mid game into a comfortable enough position to later use his heavy tanks more efficiently. One of the scouting helicopters going down, but they weren't expected to survive. So that's never really important. 35 points just to get the vision and know how much unit there are. Or if, in some cases, no unit is sent there at all. That's also nice to know. Spetsnaz actually in the south getting a bit of damage by the long-ranged vehicle fire. One of the BMR recon cars getting destroyed by the concourse. So far, no units making any really aggressive moves. Pioneers getting... Oh no, it's not Pioneers, it's Fusiliers. Fusileros? I'm not good with Spanish. As you can tell, probably. Spetsnaz out of incendiary rockets actually already. And the concourse in the south actually got destroyed, probably by the MX. So any forward push of SuperXavi is a bit delayed now. 180 plane as support gets attacked by the Tunguska, but not destroyed. But it's not making its way back into the dangerous area. There are 3 Tunguskas already on the field to give quite a good AA coverage. But despite of that, the C-15 tries to fly in again and pays with its life. And goes down into the forest. Actually, the BMP in the north gets the zone barely before dying. That might make a difference later. But actually, enough units now in the north to contest this zone. And more reinforcements coming in, so RegMonkey wants to fight for this position. And I'm already confused by the switch of colors of the names. I'm constantly having to hover my mouse over unit to see the name to remember, oh no, it's a different player. It's not the same blue player as in the last map. Oh well, we'll manage. Spetsnaz a bit outnumbered now, especially if the infantry fighting vehicles can give some support from behind. So far they don't have any vision. Spetsnaz in the town, going down. So SuperXavi is actually losing a lot of ground, not being able to push in the south due to the lack of vision. While in the center and in the north the blue units are moving forward. It is the lighter division with a better mid-game, so that is not a big surprise. But actually in the opener I believed the north would be better secured. Me helicopter in the south firing. I didn't see it at first and was confused where the sound is coming from. One of the BMPs actually dying with units inside. So not able to unload the units before getting hit by the rocket launcher. More fighting going on in the town. But the helicopter now got destroyed by the AA C-15 plane. That is moving dangerously close to the Tunguska, and now Su-27S actually trying to get the kill. There isn't much ground AA on the blue side. There's this one AMX-30 of the opener and a GDF-05 anti-air gun cannon. But apart from that, no AA on the ground, especially in the south. So that's a downside. We have seen earlier that the division of SuperXavi 190i has some helicopters, so he could support a push in the south with helicopters due to the lack of AA. Obviously he doesn't know the situation, so it's harder for him to say. Concourse tries to fire at those units moving by, but doesn't have enough space where you can see the units to get a shot off. BRDM scouting from the backlines. Now an LGB bomber trying to come in and gets one of the infantry units. For a second I thought about reading the name, and then I thought, nah, let's not try it. I'm going to butcher it up anyway. I know myself well enough to know that I won't be able to pronounce it correctly. I'm still struggling with a lot of the names. Oh, actually one T-80UD got destroyed in the north. Moved in there without much support, just a Tunguska. And the infantry units got close enough. Maybe a side shot. Well, it was angled towards them, but maybe still got hit from the side. So that's a very heavy loss. That's a 330 point tank getting destroyed this early in the game, together with the lack of forces in the north to really suppress the push that is now coming from RegMonkey. And technically he could move forward, and the moment I say that, the units start leaving the buildings. So as usual, I'm a second behind. I'm coming in to get some damage on the infantry unit. So the Tunguska moves forward to give better support for the infantry units. Leader already on the way closer to the zone. I like that. The scout from the south probably going to see most of what's going on here. You can take a moment to check the vision of the players. RegMonkey does see all of this and some of the units in the center, while SuperXavi, from his view, only gets to see very few units. So in the vision department, RegMonkey at the moment at an advantage, but from the positions and the tempo, well, I guess the blue side is pushing in the north, the red side is pushing in the south, so both have something that's going well for them, while the center, where the island is under control of the blue player, that can be a big advantage. If you put in an ATGM unit in these buildings, they can cause some havoc. But the northern town still under a lot of fighting. The blue infantry units moving forward building by building. AT plane coming in for the leader, but not getting a kill. And Tunguska putting a lot of stress on it. And new infantry units coming in as reinforcement. They're a bit too late to take this forest. I believe they will be sent to a different location pretty soon. And MX tanks as support from the back. If he doesn't realize the movement into the opponent's forces, that might be devastating. Battle on the north keeps going on. T-55s coming in as support from the back for the red side. And the transport actually one gets down before unloading, still moving forward. Second one destroyed without unloading. Oh, very unfortunate for RegMonkey. And the third one all going down to a movement route that was probably before the red side pushed this position. And MX tanks too late to give firing support. So that was pretty unfortunate for RegMonkey. LGB bomber gets killed. A lot of red units going down currently. So after those devastating losses in the south, the blue side now making a lot of kills to make up for it. Leader going down in the south as well. Still the fight in the center going on. One single infantry unit in the north for the red side. Firing support from the north from the tank, actually helping out the units in the center. A bit of skirmish keeps going on here, while new planes coming in. Gets at least one BMP kill, HE bomber. Maybe try to go for the Tunguska, I'm not sure, which is almost out of ammo for the rockets, but the gun's obviously strong as well. Both planes make it out alive, so that's one thing going well for the blue side at the moment. CV going in to take the zone and recapture it. Hopefully the infantry units will see the Motostreki before the CV gets there. Otherwise that might be quite unfortunate. It's now getting in range. And the MX immediately heavily damaged. And second rocket not being able to kill it. So at least it does survive, even though it is heavily damaged. And the leader does survive as well, and does manage to take back the zone. So the points will be at a +2, but he has 320 points to make up for. And the HE bomber now probably going to deal a lot of damage. MX-30 and 2 infantry units going down, so big losses. MX-30 not far enough forward to really stop the attack before it happens. But the plane making an unfortunate circle, so another rocket will go out, but doesn't destroy the plane. Spetsnaz. Now we have a too far forward deployment from the red side. Seems to be an ongoing trend. If a ATGM position would be in those buildings, they could actually threaten the road and those forces wouldn't even be able to make it this far. So that's definitely a location that if you capture it with your infantry units, you should make use of it. At the same time, the red side was able to clean up the units in the north. So maybe that will be a location where a red leader will now come in to capture the zone. But obviously RegMonkey knows about it, sends reinforcements in the town and to the north. The Spetsnaz did deploy on his side of the zone, so no units sent into their death by accident. More infantry units coming into supply. The Ginets scouts still in this area in the forest, so they get a lot of vision. And that's something you can keep in mind for this map, that this is quite an efficient location for scouting and ATGMs in this kind of forest location to contest this open ground. I'm actually surprised the Spetsnaz crew isn't revealing this scout and that the units move further south to destroy it. One artillery piece, so M110A2, now giving some firing support, but not getting any kills yet. On the other side, we don't have any artillery pieces yet. The CV coming in for the north, together with some infantry units for the lower northern zone. I'm always having a bit of troubles because this is for me south, this is center, and this is north. So this is somewhere in between I have no name for. The big town. So that's north, that's the town, the big town. But technically there are also buildings over here and in other locations, so other locations might also be called town, depending on how you look at it, even over here. I think if you say big town, people should know. There is a leader in for RegMonkey, so he can contest these zones should something happen. Infantry units making their way forward, supported by the tour transports with heavy machine guns and a scouting helicopter behind. The M110 moving forward at the moment, not firing. So far there is no heavy tank on the side of SuperXavi. So the strong point of his division, the T-80s, apart from the one that got side-shotted in the north and killed very quickly, not really in play. We see now 2 artillery pieces, but the point lead now in the hands of RegMonkey. So with an ongoing tick for him, currently an advantage on his side. And I believe the issue is that SuperXavi does have to buy a lot of support units, so he isn't able to buy the actually heavy tanks and save up for them, and as a result isn't able to build up the heavy tank mass that he needs to make really use of the power of his division. On Tunguska getting destroyed by the artillery now. and a lot of infantry units as reinforcements on the blue side with an AMX and a Milan in front. The zone in the north now getting contested, likely to get captured unless the AMX has a line of vision. BMP actually moves north, so well, looks like it won't get killed. Not yet, but it probably has to make a run for it afterwards. I don't think it's going to survive if it stays like in this location. A lot of blue units also in the big town. The IFVs give some firing support with a tank behind. So it's still ongoing battle in this big town, back and forth. Artillery now trying to take out the little town in the center. AT plane tries to take out the TO-55 but doesn't get a kill. Will be interesting to see when the first T-80 will come out again. That's not the first overall, but the first in a long time. Su-27S actually getting destroyed in the skies. So that's a loss that might play a role later, if you don't have the AA coverage. Currently in the north, no real ground AA units after the Tunguska got destroyed over there. Just one Tunguska in the south. There doesn't seem to be any infantry AA units from the red side. I'm not sure if 119 had the Igla or if it was a different AA infantry unit for this division. But on the other side, as I mentioned earlier, also a lack of anti-air units on the ground. So that seems to be a matter that a lot of the four players seem to solve by sending in AA planes when they need it, rather than having an AA network on the ground. Not my personal favorite. I prefer to have a strong ground AA network, but it depends on playstyle and the situation and how much airplay the opponent is actually bringing to the field. C-50 getting hit, but the Su-27S getting destroyed, same as the Mi-24P before it. So a victory in the skies for RegMonkey. Currently a +2 tick for the red side. He doesn't have the 100 points lead yet that he needs for a victory for the map, but he is on the way. And there is no leader close enough to really contest it in time in the north. So despite having a lot of control and units in the north, RegMonkey is not able to make use of it to stop the tick. In the south, he does have a leader, but not enough firing power and control over the area to really contest the zone. Maybe that would be an interesting time for a smoke play, that he just smokes off this area and then sends unit forward. But I'm not sure if he has enough to take on a close range fight to take the zone. A lot of infantry support coming in now for the town and the north. The infantry tab of 119 Yar isn't the strongest, so again, he isn't really playing to the strengths of his division. He isn't making use of the T-80 tanks that are very hard to kill for his opponent. So I'm not sure if that was his plan, if he wanted to make more use of infantry units with just a few tanks in the back to support them. If he has more T-55s in the deck to play against this lighter division. Or if he's really unable to really bring the T-80s to the battlefield. If he doesn't see the opening to save up to bring them and get enough points. AT plane coming in. Artillery moves forward and now aiming at the Milan 2. That's one of these buildings where it's a very nice position for the ATGM to threaten this location over here in the open field. 2 AMX leaders now coming in. One for the town, one for the northern zone. Milan 2 got hit by the artillery and destroyed. One of the ground AA pieces, Strela, now coming in. Does get a rocket out, but doesn't get a hit. The second M110 now on the side of RegMonkey. And he does reinforce the southern forest. So he might try to take advantage of making a concave and shooting at the units of the red side from multiple angles, so that he gets side shots and kills the units faster. Which is always a good thing, you always want to kill the enemy units faster. BMP leader gets repaired, while the infantry units try to take control over the zone, but most likely going down now. No IFVs behind to support them, and the Spanish infantry units, while not special forces and not on a veterancy level, they do have 11 men, so they do dish out a lot of damage. Zone in the big town, still a lot of blue units, but the Spetsnaz commander has the control, and the AMX leader not brave enough to move in yet. Same as the AMX leader in the north. AT tank gets hit, tank plane gets hit by the rocket of the Su-27, but immediately a reaction with 2 C-15 planes, and they take out the Su-27S. Scouts still in transport, not getting unloaded. Meanwhile, artillery tries to go for counter battery actually. Based on how the bullets or grenades went through the air, I thought maybe they're shooting at the Spetsnaz group, but they're actually trying to hit the artillery. And shells was the name for the bullet that I was looking for. It's a bit very big shells, very big bullets, shells. MX-30 getting destroyed in the forest in the south. And we do have a T-80 leader now, with a T-80 UD in the back. So now finally we can see some heavy tanks from the red side. Artillery is still alive. No heavy tank in the north. 3 supply tank trucks in the back. So there's quite a bit of supplies all over the map for SuperXavi. There's 2 supply trucks here, 3 over here, and at least 1 in the south. And probably 1 for the artillery soon as well. So he does quite well on this aspect of the battlefield, with the logistics. Infantry units going forward. I think it's a bit too early if the T-80s aren't in position yet to support them. I think they should be in the forest forward. So that now that the enemies are visible, they should be shooting and dealing out damage. And the Tunguska may need to be forward as well, so that when the planes come in, they're shut down before they can get their rockets or bombs out. The zone in the north got captured and the big town is contested, even if the plane might change that. No, probably not. A little bit off target. But Pointick is at the moment on the side of RegMonkey. He is down in points, so he does need the Pointick. But it doesn't look like... Well, never mind. I thought that it will change quite quickly with the Pointick, but he seems to have secured enough territory so that the Pointick will probably be in his favor for a while. But with just a +1 or 2, it might take some time before he gets the point lead. tow cars now coming in. It's light armored vehicles. What was it? Tow 2, 25 pen. So they can be quite devastating. For example, to the TO-55 that went down, and actually the one T-80UD got hit as well. So a lot of big losses again on the side of SuperXavi. I'm actually not sure what the T-80 hit, if that was a tank or a rocket as well. That was hit in the side, but it moved forward, so I thought it would hit the frontal armor. Tunguska getting destroyed by the artillery. So now there's a lack of AA to actually support the T-80, and the infantry also going down now. So a lot going well for the side of RegMonkey now. The tow trucks. Well, it's not actually trucks, but vehicles. Armored vehicles. Infantry unit trying to move through the forest. Maybe to get a side shot or back shot. I'm surprised there is no reinforcement with a Milan infantry unit in these buildings. He had one there earlier, but it got destroyed by the artillery. More infantry units coming in. Actually, ME helicopter under fire by the infantry units and IFVs, or actually the GDF-05 from the back, getting the kill. Leader in the south got destroyed by the T-80 that's moving forward. I'm not sure if that is SuperXavi getting desperate and he thinks he has to push. Or that could be dangerous if he gets side-shotted or a plane gets a nice hit. He does manage to deal a lot of damage against the infantry units and will get into the zone. But if that MX gets a side shot or one of the planes get a nice hit, that could be really annoying for SuperXavi. And the T-80 is by itself, so it gets the first shot. Both shots at the tow vehicle, and it gets destroyed by the MX from the back. Was the side. So sadly, the T-80 didn't move with the other units in time. The other T-80UD got destroyed before, and now the leader was all by itself. So that was unlikely to work out, but it was an attempt with just 10 minutes left. Technically, SuperXavi at the moment has a point lead and has stopped the tick with contesting the zone and making it neutral. So he still has an advantage and might take the win, but it was a really unfortunate outcome of the battle with his push. Artillery now trying to take out the MX leader, which is moving forward into the artillery fire actually. So that might end up killing it if there's more shells coming in. But one more. No, they all missed. So the leader will stay alive. Red leader is getting repaired. 18 plane, HE plane. A lot of planes from the side of RegMonkey. A new T-80 BVK leader coming in. He might actually cross paths with this infantry unit, but based on the pathing he might have its front towards the infantry unit. Artillery shooting at the MX, I assume? Or further on the back? No, it does hit the MX. Meanwhile, the T-80 does get a hit, but only stress and 1 damage, or nothing bad. They both separate. MX also making its way out. So no kills down here in the south. Actually, while moving away... Oh, it got a side shot. It moved backwards so that the front is towards the infantry unit, but at an angle where it got a side shot. Oh, that's so unfortunate. That's like the third tank, the T-80 tank on the side of SuperXavi, that dies in a very unfortunate way. I mean, he could have moved away in a different angle, but still that feels very unfortunate. And chasing an infantry unit with a heavy tank, also not the best idea. So he reroutes and sends that unit towards the center to shoot at the infantry units from afar instead. So a few heavy losses for SuperXavi, which means he lost a lot of tempo. And RegMonkey might try to take advantage of that now. Artillery currently not taking aim. The big town pretty much under his control. As soon as the Spetsnaz is dead, he will fully capture it and have a point tick again. The artillery of the red side currently out of ammo, so that won't be firing for a while. Actually, if I zoom out like this, there aren't that many red units left, and a lot of blue units. So this looks really grim at the moment for SuperXavi. Completely lost the control in the north. And if these units move forward, there's just the Spetsnaz crew and the Strela, and everything behind that is empty. So a lot of points were invested in the T-80s that got destroyed, and that is now causing a lot of problems for SuperXavi. 5 minutes left, so technically he only has to hold for a bit longer, but probably the zone will get captured eventually. Ah, there's a leader. I was going to say there's no leader coming at the moment, but there it is. So the point tick will increase to a +2. We only have 5.5 minutes left, but that might still be enough, especially given that RegMonkey can move forward and probably gain more ground. But the question is if it will be enough to capture another zone. Maybe he could secure it with a smoke screen, but he has no mortars on the field at the moment. But he does have a lot of planes, and those planes are probably going in for the T-80 now. And that would be another T-80 loss in the forest. That is basically his entire defense in this southern zone. Infantry units fighting in the forest. So despite the lighter unit, the lighter division, not being able to really make a flanking attack on either side, he was able to always get a kill on the T-80s in fortunate situations, and that way have the superior tanks well under control and be able to make use of his superior numbers with infantry units and support units. And he's likely to push forward now and take the zone in the south after assuring that there isn't enough to stop his leader, like an HE bomber. And the MX actually one bomb before him, one behind him, one left to him, and he survives. That was very, very fortunate for RegMonkey. Or, well, we should say it was great skill on his side. He didn't move the unit because he knew the bombs will fly next to it and not on top. Very smart play. We can all learn from that. Now an MG in a defensive position, giving some firing support. MX-30 moving forward to destroy the BMP-2. The points are within 100, so at the moment it would be a draw. And with a +2 still ticking and 3 minutes left, I think it's about 40 points or 80 points per minute, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be enough with a +2. I think the calculation was something like 40 points for a +1 per minute. So with 2.5 minutes, that would be enough time with this tick for RegMonkey to take the lead, even without having to secure another zone. And if we look at the battlefield, there isn't much SuperXavi can do at this moment to really stop this from happening. We can only hope that the tick won't be fast enough. Now, RegMonkey takes the lead. Battlefield in the north and center, well under control. South, much bigger group of units. So there isn't really any reason to doubt that he will be able to take the point lead quite quickly. And I'm not sure what SuperXavi should do now, since he doesn't have enough units to make a push. He doesn't even have enough units to be defensive, so he can probably just wait for his demise. Another side shot destroying the next T80. Whoop, that's a bit too close. That's the story of this battle. A lot of big losses of the T80s with side shots or in unfortunate situations. So after an early game where none of these tanks were aboard, in the end he did buy them just to have them get destroyed without dealing much damage. So maybe it wasn't the right division after all. I'm not sure. It was the counter pick, so he felt confident in it. And maybe it would have worked out if the game played differently. But now, more than 130 points for RegMonkey ahead. So RegMonkey will take this map in the 30 seconds. And with that, it will be one map for each player, so in overall a draw between them in this matchup. And he even gets the leader into the zone in the south, so he will even increase this time point tick further in the last 10 seconds. It won't make a difference anymore. But there we have it. GG and victory for RegMonkey. 1.85 kill ratio. So despite the other division being heavier, technically, well, we didn't see that many heavy tanks in the early parts of the match, but still RegMonkey a much better kill ratio. If we take a quick look at the kill counter, okay, and loss score, 1 BMP got a bunch of kills, 250 fights, but Concourse, it takes a while until we can see the first T80. And another one over here. But if we look at the kills of the opponent, the early MX-30 got a bunch of Spetsnaz killed. Fusiliers, MX-30 over here as well, several kills. And let's see if we can find, there's the T80 BVK leader, got destroyed by MX-30. I think there was one T80 before the year. By the scouts, Ginette got a kill on the T80 UD in the early part of the game. So that was probably where it went all downhill, since SuperXavi lost control in the north and couldn't really bring enough units together to support his heavy tanks, and as a result the heavy tanks got side-shotted and killed by other units and airplanes. We have here one C-15AT plane with 2 T-80 UD kills, so that paid off for itself quite significantly. So yeah, that was the matchup of RegMonkey versus SuperXavi. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.